Is that on now? Yes. We'll start in just a moment. Go ahead and get started. If you'd all please stand. And we'll share with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Any Rotarians, loved ones that you would like to share with us that might need a thought or a prayer? Not aware of any. We haven't been updated. With that in mind, then, there's a lot going on. This is obviously Foundation Month for Rotary. We also have Polio Plus going on as part of that. And we also have a United Way campaign going on. So let's, that was a paid advertisement. We will all, so let's take the time and keep all of those entities and those in need in our thoughts and prayers for a moment, please. Thank you. You may be seated. So before we get to welcoming our guests, Kelsey was always good about sharing the date, and today is November 7th. And as part of that means tomorrow is election day. So I want to encourage everybody here, if you haven't already done so, go out and vote often. Oh no, this isn't Chicago, is it? And as I shared, November is also Rotary Foundation Month. So we'll be doing a lot in regards to that. And on November 28th, we'll have a special celebration in that regard. This day in history, Franklin D. Roosevelt was elected to his 4th term as President of the United States. Also on this date in 1962, Richard Nixon had just lost his run for governor of California and made the famous quote, "You won't have Nixon to kick around anymore." 6 years later, he was President of the United States. And how ironic, in 1962, Eleanor Roosevelt, the wife of FDR, passed away on this date. A noted statesperson and philanthropist and humanitarian. So a lot of neat things going there. Now, let's do the real important stuff. Let's introduce several of our guests. Mr. Baker, I understand you have somebody that we could share with.
My guest today is Pawan Garg from Agra, India. He's a past Rotary Club president there at the Agra North Club. He's spending about 3 or 4 months here in Iowa. His son is a PhD candidate at Iowa State, and they just had a new grandchild, and so they're here to help. So.
And Dean Phillips has our guest for us here.
It is again my pleasure to have Simeon Zangderman with us today. As you noticed, hopefully you got an email proposing her for membership. So please greet her.
So after the club meeting today, if you can, please take the opportunity and introduce yourself, Simeon, and we'll look forward to a formal presentation later for when she's inducted as a member. It's now an opportunity for Louis.
Oh, do I have the microphone? I'm now going to give a speech. Is that it?
Yes.
Well, actually, John Christie would lead again today, except that he's still on vacation, due back, I think, today or tomorrow. So please sing loudly. I will play the welcome song for you. Here we go.
As always, typically, not always, first Monday of the month, we have some special recognitions to go through. So these are the individuals with birthdays. Well, and Jim, there you are on the list again. Thank you for, well, meaning that we've already had you present. So with that, let's wish these fine Rotarians a happy birthday. And we also have the opportunity to recognize those who are celebrating anniversaries this month. November is kind of a lighter month for, appears to me, for wedding anniversaries. I don't know, anybody here on the list celebrating an anniversary today? I'm not sure. Oh, Frank, you're back there in the corner. Well, we'll let you. And now we have the opportunity to recognize those who have been members of the club. This is their anniversary date in the month of November. And look at that. Park joined us from the Knoxville Club, 44 years for this starting. Thank you, Park. Appreciate that membership. Doug, you as well at 42. And I'm not going to go through the whole list, except the bottom two are extra special. Today's their first anniversary. So we want to congratulate and welcome each of you for being with us. Let's go ahead and. As a continuation of our opportunity to recognize entities that we had the privilege of participating with, today we have with us from Food at First, Patty Yoder. So Patty, please, you're the next contestant, Patty. Come on up.
My name is Patty Yoder. I'm the executive director of Food at First. For those of you that don't know about Food at First, we serve a free meal 365 days a year. We never take a day off for any reason whatsoever, even duratio. But and we also have a free food pantry 3 times a week. So a long time ago, I mean, we give out a lot of food. We have a lot of donations. We give out a very nice amount of food. And it's always difficult for our guests to carry it all. It's just so much. And so, you know, you'll see them dragging a box along the floor or trying to kick it with their feet or, you know, or asking someone else to carry. And it's just always been in my mind a dream to purchase and give them shopping carts so that they could easier move their groceries along. So when the Rotary grant came along, I thought, okay, we're pretty set on freezers and you know other items and it's time. So with the Rotary grant, we purchased well, we started out purchasing 40 of these carts, and that's about how many I could get my husband to come to our home. And then we added another 40. And when I ran out of Rotary grant money, I wrote another grant. And so we ended up buying 120 of these, and they're gone. They are completely handed out. It was quite a joyous day when we did that. They were so excited and so happy and thankful. And I, of course, announced multiple times where the grant money came from, and told them to make sure they took good care of them and kept track of them. We did put numbers and names on them just so that they don't get each other's mixed up and lost and whatever. But they've been a huge blessing to our guests, just to be able to get their food from our location out to their vehicles or to the bus or to their home or wherever they're going. But just thank you from the bottom of my heart. Like I said, it's been a dream of mine, just to help that one more step. And it's a really cool thing. They love them, and they thank me all the time. I get to be the one that everyone thanks, so I get the fun part. But it was just a really cool day when we handed them out, and it's neat to see them be used 3 times a week. So there's a few photos of them filling them up there, and thank you again for your support all the time. We couldn't do it without the donations of everything that gets donated. Last year, of course, was still COVID times, and it was a little bit different because we were packaging everything for carry out. And we didn't eat indoors for 25 months. And anyway, so I want to tell you the number. We served 35,000 meals last year. And that number's a little high because of the carry out thing, because we allowed them to take, depending on the day and what was going on, sometimes they could take 6 or even 10 meals with them if they wanted to feed their take to their neighbors or their friends, or have for multiple days. So that number's a little bit skewed because of that. But I estimate this year we'll probably serve about 28,000 meals, maybe a little bit more, 29. So it's a very needed program, and y'all know from going to the grocery store how things have gone up. And my husband usually does the grocery shopping, and I went the other day and I was like, oh my word, no wonder people need help. So we're seeing record numbers for our pantry, the biggest numbers we've ever had. So the need is definitely out there, and we're just thankful that we have enough food to help everyone that walks through the doors, and now they can carry it away. So thank you so much.
I had 2 questions, Patty. 3 times a week, what days are those?
Monday, Thursday, Saturday.
So Monday, Thursday, Saturday. And where is this?
We're located inside the First Christian Church. We kind of took over their lower level at 611 Clark Avenue.
And do you ever lack for help? Do you ever need volunteers?
Definitely.
I have about 70 people here that
could sign up.
So no, we do want to make sure that we're ready, willing, and able.
Sure. Yeah, just go to our website at foodafirst.com, and it walks you through how to sign up to volunteer. This time of year, we're pretty good because of the students, but as soon as the students go home for Thanksgiving or Christmas or summer break, we're hurting again. So yeah, those are good times to sign up.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Appreciate your service. I now have the opportunity, unfortunately, Mason got called away with other responsibilities, taking care of one of his sons. But I get that responsibility now to introduce an incredible program that Mason has been able to put together for us. representing the Central Iowa Drug Taskforce, we have with us Jamie and Nicholas, and they will share a little bit in a moment about what the Drug Task Force does in Story County. The fact we even need the service is kind of sad, isn't it, if you think about it, and think of how they put their lives on the line for you and I. So I have a brief assignment that they do. Our current assignment with the Drug Task Force and our current assignment with the Central Iowa Drug Task Force is overt and covert police investigations. We've conducted or been a part of numerous police investigations and surveillance of drug traffickers, dealers, and users that have resulted in numerous arrests and the seizure of and including but not limited to large quantities of illegal narcotics and U.S. currency. Many of these investigations have included working confidential informants to make cases on illegal drug dealers. So literally putting their lives out there for you and I to have better lives on our own. With that, Nicholas and Jamie, let me offer you the podium. Thank you.
Right up on the screen, is that okay? We'll just go off the computer here. We're not in the meeting, in the Zoom meeting. No. I'll kick this out, it looked like. Looks like. Let's see.
Might be easier.
I'm in my email. Megan Hurst? So, what's her name? There we go. Here we go. Four 18027. We're better at police work than computers, so. Here we go. Yeah. All right, thank you. Thank you for having us. Thank you to Mason Adams for inviting us to come and talk to you today about drugs and opioids and kind of what we're seeing in our area, how we investigate those and some of the numbers behind it. So who are we? Who's standing up in front of you? I'm Sergeant Nick Hotchberger with the Story County Sheriff's Office. This is Deputy Jamie Schmitz. We're part of the Central Iowa Drug Taskforce. In that task force, that's made up of the Sheriff's Office through Story County. Ames Police Department has one officer. Boone Police Department has two officers assigned to it. Boone County Sheriff's Office has one. Iowa State University has one officer. They're currently unfilled just due to their lack of number of officers they have right now. But once they get back up to staff, then they'll have somebody dedicated full-time to our task force. The state of Iowa Department of Narcotics, they have one special agent with us, and then both the Boone and Story County Attorney's Office as part of our task force. They give us some legal representation there and help us out with our cases. So what do we cover? We obviously cover Story and Boone counties. They're our primary members. Greene County and Jefferson Police are secondary members, so they don't actually pay or contribute an officer to the task force, but if they call us, ask us for help, they got a case going, we'll go over there, help them out. Whatever seizures we may get or investigation at the conclusion, they'll get a percentage of, if we seize any funds or assets, they'll get a percentage of that. Also, Marshalltown and Mine in Des Moines, we help them every week. We're either helping them or they're helping us with investigations, passing information back and forth. We deal with a lot of traffickers coming and going from Des Moines. Marshalltown are two major areas with Highway 30 and I-35. That's their primary routes that they take. People take to traffic drugs. So how do we investigate drug crimes? The most important thing that we deal with is going to be confidential informants, CIs, primarily CIs that are working off charges, drug charges already. So what we'll do is we'll bring them in, we'll sign them up. We'll get any information that they have. They may do some controlled purchases for us where they'll go out, we'll monitor a transaction where we give them money, they buy drugs, we record the whole incident. And then we try to go up the chain to get the bigger fish, right? We're always looking to get the supply, not the ground user of these drugs. We may get confidential sources where they just anybody wants to come in and say, hey, you know, I have information about this is going on, or I own an apartment building and I know that there's drug sales happening. I got these license plates. Well, those people come in, give us information. Yep. Okay. Yep. We have people that come in and they just want to make some money. They know some bad people, some drug traffickers. So we'll say, hey, 50, $100 a buy, we'll pay you to go out and buy some drugs for us. And that's been really helpful for us, and especially in this climate and people needing money, we're getting more of that than we've seen before. We get anonymous tips. People leave tips that call in or leave tips online of things that they're seeing. We'll work those and start setting up surveillance on there to get some information. And then we get a lot of information coming from patrol about cases that they work, where we'll start an investigation that way. So here's some of the stats from last year. We started 61 new investigations on top of investigations given to us by other agencies. And these are some of the seizures that we've had: cocaine, 5 grams, heroin, opioid pills, marijuana, meth. You can see that meth is our highest drug seized last year at 11,541 grams. So if you think of that in pounds, they're roughly 450 grams in a pound. So we've seized quite a bit of methamphetamine in this area. Prescription pills, 13 firearms seized from search warrants we've conducted, and then roughly $74,000 in just currency that we seized. That doesn't include any vehicles or any other items that we've seized on our search warrants. So primarily today, they wanted us to talk about some opioids and the crisis that we're seeing currently in our area. So what are they? I mean, I'm sure you have seen it with medication that you've been given, or maybe a family member has been given. So looking at our top right pill, that's going to be an opioid hydrocodone. And you can tell that by the markings on the pill, usually. The one below it is going to be an oxycodone pill, the pink pill there. Usually the letter on it indicates, what's in it, and then the number is going to give a percentage. So like an M30 pill, stands for morphine, and 30 stands for the percentage of fentanyl in that pill. So it could be like 0.3 grams of fentanyl in that pill is what the M30 stands for. So what do opioids do in your body when you take them in? Why are they illegal, and why are we having issues with them? They relax the muscles and relieve pain. That's why they're prescribed by a doctor, usually after surgery. They're prescribed to treat moderate to severe pain. I believe that they were created for cancer patients, was the original reason why they were created. But don't quote me on that. They give you a feeling of relaxation and a high. They're highly addictive, which that's the biggest issue that we have with them. So it makes overdoses and death common because people are taking in more than they should. The opioids attach to your receptors in your brain. That slows down your heart rate and your breathing to the point where you just stop because of, those receptors stop your heart rate, stop your breathing, and then you overdose on it. And then also opioids, the illegal drug heroin. When we talk about synthetic opioids, synthetic means that they were created in a lab and they're not like a natural prescription medication that they issue out. So if you see some of those pills, or maybe you're prescribed some of them, they're up there on the right. And if you see M on a pill, that stands for morphine. How do these pills affect your body? A lethal dose of fentanyl is 2 milligrams, and I'll get into that here on the next couple slides, but these pills relax your body. You have a feeling of euphoria. They do their job. They stop the pain, maybe sedate you, drowsy. You may become dizzy or nauseous. You can tell people that are on these because their pupils get very constricted or very tight, so it's really hard to see the black of their pupils. So if you ever see somebody on an overdose, that's one of the signs of that. And like I said before, it slows down your breathing. In overdose deaths, fentanyl accounts for roughly 80% of those deaths. So go over if you see somebody like this, it's called on the nod. We see this a lot in our driving investigations for people that are on drugs or opiates when they're out driving or in public. I'm just going to show a brief video about that. Can they hear that or not? No? It's more of what we can see here in a second. You'll see. Okay. You'll see a gentleman here in a second on this video, and it's called On the Nod. It's a brief video. I just wanted to show you of somebody that they came across in public that is just on the nod. So 1 second here. It means the opiates have taken control. They're slowing down your breathing, your heart rate, and you're almost like falling asleep while you're awake. You'll see that here in a second. This gentleman they come across, he's out in public on the sidewalk and he's just essentially falling asleep while he's standing there. Right here. Completely unaware of his surroundings. Standing there completely out of it. So if you see somebody like this, that's an indication that they're on the nod on some opiates. Okay. So we're currently investigating a pretty decent M30 pill case. So if you see up there on the top left, the M30 pill, the top picture is going to be an authentic M30 pill. The bottom one is going to be a counterfeit pill. The top one is one that's prescribed, like through a pharmacist. The bottom one is going to be created either in Mexico or China, shipped to Mexico, and then brought over the border is how they're getting into the country. Some of them are made in the U.S., but primarily it's made out of the country. So you can see the top one is made correctly with the correct amount of fentanyl or opiates in the pill. This bottom one could be 100% fentanyl. It could have very little to zero. That's what makes them so dangerous to people. And that's why we have so many overdoses, because with these counterfeit pills, you don't know what you're ingesting or what percentage of the pill you're taking. Down below that, the brown, it looks almost like sand or dirt, is going to be the heroin. That's a lot of heroin. If we were to find that, we usually buy a gram of heroin, and it's usually wrapped in tin foil or on like a corner of a piece of paper and sold that way. And roughly a gram of heroin is going for about $200 a gram. So it's pretty expensive stuff. And then below that, you'll see the white powdery substance is going to be your fentanyl. So lethal dose of these drugs, heroin, you'll see on the picture to the right, 10 to 12 milligrams of heroin could kill a person. Fentanyl, 1 to 2 milligrams, and you can see the dime, yeah. So the dime there, you can see just the sizing of that. And then carfentanil, which is a percentage stronger than fentanyl, I don't know, 10 times stronger or something like that. About 2 or 3 grains of salt of carfentanil could kill you. And where those dangers lie for us, if we do a search warrant or something, those pieces can go through the air and people can inhale those. And same for the people that are taking them. So if that stuff goes airborne, it could become very dangerous to people. Yep. So she said she doesn't see a difference in the pills on the top left. And that's why we put it up there, because we don't know. We have to send it to the lab. Once we seize these pills, we have to send it to the lab so they can analyze it. because a lot of the times they're counterfeit pills made in a different country and sent to the United States is what we're seeing. And we'll talk about an investigation that Deputy Schmitz is currently doing and involving a lot of these pills. So, yep, with that being said, I'll let Deputy Schmitz take over, talk about her case here, the M30 pills. This picture was just taken last week from an investigation that we're doing on these pills, but that's 100 M30 pills that we purchased for approximately $700. So I'll let her take over here.
Yeah, the M30 pills and heroin and meth are the drugs that are our choice that we want to investigate. Meth destroys the community. M30 pills, opioids, they're gonna lead to our overdoses and cause deaths. So currently I'm working an M30 case. These pills are Percocet pills. They're the counterfeit pills and drug dealers are putting fentanyl in them. I don't know exactly why they're doing it. My guess is to kind of get people hooked even more. That way they're coming back and buying more pills and they're making more money off of it. So we have a CI that's from the Ames area that we did a search warrant on his place and now he had some weed in some of those products. So we are flipping him and he's doing the M30 pills buys for us because in my M30 pills, we want to get those off the street. So instead of charging him for marijuana, we're going to get M30 pills off the street and hopefully get to his source of supply. So we did a couple buys now from a Target in Des Moines that's supplying him with 100 pills each time of the M30s. We did some search warrants, figured out who this Des Moines supplier's getting him his pills from, which is from a guy in Las Vegas. This guy was seen on like Snapchat videos. He's carrying like trash bags full of these M30 pills and Xanax pills. So he's selling a lot and how he's moving them is through the United States Postal System. So through these warrants, we found out that the Des Moines drug dealer bought 4,500 pills, sent him $6,400 through the mail. And then once this guy receives the cash, he'll send the 4,500 pills to some address. We haven't quite figured that out. So that's kind of the investigation we're working right now. We're kind of in the middle of it. We're working with the postal inspector. Hopefully, if we're able to do things right, we might be going to Vegas to try to knock down that supplier because he's in Vegas, but yet he's sending pills. We've got in the Snapchat, he's sending them to Tennessee, to Alabama, to South Carolina. So he's sending them everywhere and they're getting into our community. We've had some overdoses that probably have involved these pills too. So in the Central Iowa community. So it's kind of our number one priority right now. And like you said, one pill could cause an overdose on this. You're relying on your local drug dealer who has zero education to, weigh these pills, figure out how much of what substance goes in it. So if he puts just a little bit too much fentanyl in one pill, that will cause an overdose. So any questions about that case or anything? I think he has a slide of this.
Last year was around 400. We'll get to that slide. It was around 400, over 400 last year. And that was I think it was like a 34% increase from 2019 to 2021. So we're definitely seeing those numbers rise. And we believe the issue is these M30 pills being created overseas or in Mexico and then just being flooded in the United States.
And I've just been on the drug task force since June and I've already responded to an overdose in Ames. So it's happening and it's happening in our community. So then opioid overdose, what are you going to see? Unconsciousness, like he said before, when you're using opiates, your pupils constrict. So you're going to have very small pupils, the slow breathing, they'll vomit. They're not going to be able to speak because everything's just slowed down. Faint heartbeat, limp arm and legs, pale skin, and then purple lips and their fingernails will turn purple as well. I'll let him take over here.
Yeah, with the overdoses, you're gonna obviously realize that there's a problem. This person's not gonna be conscious. They're gonna be barely breathing and probably laying on the ground. More than likely, they're gonna have whatever they're overdosed on is gonna be next to them or close to them. So that's an indicator of what's going on there. And then this gentleman's question, this is gonna answer that. So in last year, 258 Iowans died of an opioid overdose. 400, that was just the opioid overdose, and 470 total died of drug overdoses. So again, that was a 34% increase from 2019. I don't have the exact stats for Story County, but I would say approximately 5 to 7 overdoses a year. We'll look into, and primarily those are going to be in the Ames area here. So how do we combat an overdose, or if we come across an overdose, you know, what are we going to do about it? I'm sure you've heard of Narcan or we'll just call it Narcan because it's our. So all the law enforcement that I stated in all those counties, everybody carries Narcan either on their person or in their patrol car. It comes with 2 nasal injectors. So if we come across somebody showing signs of an overdose, we'll take those out of the package, stick them up the person's nose, push the plunger, and administer a dose of Narcan. We'll let dispatch know. They'll tell the responding ambulances or medical staff what we have going. And that way, once they get out of their vehicles, they have the proper equipment to help us out with the person. Those are just going to be one-time use. They're just small. As you can see there on that box, they're just a small nasal plunger that we stick up their nose. And what that does, we spray that up to their nose. It goes into their system. It attaches itself to the opioid receptors in the body, and it blocks the body from taking any more of that medication in. And that way that person will hopefully start increasing their heart rate, increasing their breathing, and start coming back to more of a conscious state than when they were overdosing. Sir. It's almost, yep. He asked, how long does it take? Once we stick that Narcan up somebody's nose and spray it, it's going to be almost immediate. Within 30 seconds to a minute, you should be seeing something change in that person. Again, it usually requires more than 1 dose, and that person's going to be going to the hospital, but we're just throwing a Band-Aid on the issue. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, all those pills that we show are meant to have a short lifespan. So, for example, you have a surgery, you take these pills for a week, and then you're done. Is what these pills should be. But they're all highly addictive, and that's the issue that we're seeing, is because once these people get hooked on them, that's where the problems start. Because then your body needs more and more and more of that, and they start feeling that high, and they get addicted. And that's when overdoses happen, because they just keep taking more than they should on that pill. It's possible, yes, it can. And the nasal spray does work on fentanyl overdoses. Yep. Yes, it can be absorbed through the skin, and the Narcan does work on fentanyl overdoses. So we have a medical bag. We do a lot of search warrants. We go into a lot of bad places, gross places. So we have 2 to 4 fentanyl nasal plungers for us, and also the people that we come in contact with in the medical kit. All right, what are we doing? Not only as the drug task force, but what are we doing to combat this crisis? Currently, we're working with the state of Iowa to report any overdoses to them. And that way we can find out some hot spots. Maybe we have a single drug dealer, maybe we have an area that needs, more enforcement. And so we'll figure that out through those, giving that to the state, that information to the state. We have a drug drop box program. I'm sure you've seen that. We have one drop box at Ames PD and we have one at the Story County Sheriff's Office. So if you have unused prescription medication, you can go and drop it off there. It's a great way to get that out of your house. Oh, I'm sorry.
You have a tough job and I thank you for doing it. What motivates you, both of you, to do it?
Me, that's an easy question. I have a brother. He's really highly addicted to meth. So that's what motivates me. I don't want to see another family go through the crisis, kind of like the same crisis that our family's going through for the drug stuff. What got me into law enforcement was my father. When I was 9 days after I was born, he was killed in an OWI accident. He was the driver. He was intoxicated. So growing up, knowing that, my goal was to go out there and make sure people get home alive and families aren't ruined by, intoxicated drivers was my primary thing. Even if people go to jail for OWIs, they still get to go home, right? At the end of the night. So if I could go out and make an impact, positive impact on society to get people to go home at the end of the night. And that included taking people to jail, taking people home, getting a sober ride. It wasn't just, taking people to jail, but my goal was just to keep people home safe. So that's my primary, and then with my brother for the drug thing. Like I said, he's highly addicted to meth. He's got 2 kids. He's got a ruined life because of the drug. We've tried everything we can with him to help him out. And it's a tough thing to deal with. And I know it's really hard on my parents and my brothers. So that's just trying to be out here and making a difference in our communities and make sure that that doesn't happen to somebody else. That's mine.
I don't think I can beat that answer. Maybe a paycheck for me, but no, kind of the same thing. I worked in the jail for 5 years before I got on as a deputy, and you just see people come in and be either drunk or high and how it ruins them. And then I got on patrol, and you respond to the car crashes and everything like that, or you respond to the deaths, the overdoses. So this job was appealing to me because hopefully we can, even if we make one small difference of hopefully being able to, save one life or get somebody to stop using drugs, and then I guess it's worth it, but just try to stop that so people don't ruin others' lives or maybe come out of it and be a productive member of society again.
Got a couple of questions.
Okay.
Can you hear this?
Yeah.
Okay. You don't mind that we're just.
Absolutely.
interrupting
Nope.
everything.
This is better than our stuff.
I have 2 questions. We are hearing so much about fentanyl anymore and how long has that been a big problem? When did this start? How many years ago do you think? I mean, we heard about the opioids and everything, but fentanyl all of a sudden is becoming a really big problem.
Yep, to answer that, I would just say 4 or 5 years ago is when we started carrying Narcan, and it became such a problem that officers were overdosing on it when they came into contact with it. It was a new thing. Back then, people didn't know much about it. That's why a lot of the overdoses happened, because we didn't know how to handle it, what type of PPE or protective equipment we needed to wear when handling it, how it needed to be sent to the labs. There were overdoses on the lab technicians because they were getting stuff they didn't know. So I would say 4 or 5 years ago was when it really flooded the country and we started seeing issues with it.
So my second question is, what's fentanyl made out of? I mean, is it from a plant? Is it from a bean or what? What do they make it out of?
It's made in a lab. I don't know that. It's made in a lab with opiates in it, primarily the morphine opiate. And it's just created in in a lab somewhere.
So I wonder why we're making it and why we're prescribing it and all that if it's such a problem. Why are we doing this?
Well, pharmacies, opiates have been out there for a while with the hydrocodone, the oxycodone. And what these synthetic labs have done is they've taken that pill, they've taken the fentanyl out of it, and then they've started mixing it with other things, which again is highly addictive and creates a lot of issues with people.
Do you find a connection between like marijuana use and then the use of fentanyl? As we begin to legalize marijuana, is that making your job more of a challenge?
Yes, we do. And this is something that we talk about quite a bit is marijuana a gateway drug? That question comes up all the time. Is there an answer for it? Yes or no? From our experience, yes, it is. And I can talk from professional experience and personal experience because my brother, that's how he started in high school. He started on marijuana. Has an addictive personality. That wasn't doing it. That wasn't cutting it for the high he was looking for. And so he started up with harder drugs and went to cocaine and then hooked on methamphetamine. A lot of times we do these search warrants. There's every single search warrant we do, whether it's meth, cocaine, LSD, there is marijuana or a THC product present at that search warrant. So to answer your question, I would say that it absolutely is, or it plays a part in that person's addiction.
On TV shows, you get the idea that drugs are always associated with guns, murder, car chases, break-ins. Do you carry guns, and are you fearful for your lives?
Yeah, we all carry guns. We conceal them when we're out and about, just so people don't know we're cops. In about every search warrant that we have gone on, we have seized and located firearms. Most drug dealers do equip themselves with a firearm just because they're getting robbed, and all the time people are trying to steal their money. So just about every drug dealer we deal with, we go in with the notion that they will be carrying a handgun or some sort of firearm on them.
Let's assume you have a high school student in your family or a college student in your family, and you suspect they may be using something. What kind of money does it take to sustain a drug habit? And or what other things could parents, for example, families look for?
Like you said, heroin, for like 1 gram of heroin, we just bought the other day for $180. That gram of heroin, I asked the guy, how long would this last you if you're a heroin dealer? He said about a week. So if you got a high schooler, I mean, I don't know very many high schoolers that make a whole ton of money. So if they're trying to get money, lots of money, or keep asking for money, that's a good sign. High schoolers, so I think THC products, marijuana products is huge right now. Just about every 16-year-old, we get complaints all the time of their people's 16-year-old daughter or son smoking marijuana. And obviously the sign to tell on that, marijuana has a very distinct odor. They got the red bloodshot eyes. I guess if you do have a family member who's starting to use drugs, just be a good parent, try to get them off of it. If they need to go to the hospital and get help for addiction, that'd be good. If you see them with, the M30 pills or anything like that, you got a serious problem on your hand and you need to take action and just be a good parent. Every situation is different. So you got to figure out what works for you and your child.
Some things we did with my brother when we suspected him of using was essentially corner him, look at him, like she said, in the eyes. The pupils are going to tell you maybe some red conjunctiva in your eyes. So the white of your eyes is going to be red, bloodshot, watery. What we also did is my dad went to Walmart and got a urine test for him. And so they can pee in this cup and essentially it'll tell you what they're doing. It'll be the best way to handle a juvenile that you suspect of using, because if they don't want to pee, then what does that tell you? right? That they're probably hiding something. So that's the way we handled my brother once he was suspected. And then from there, to get him substance abuse help. Takes two people to go up to the clerk of court's office. You have to sign an affidavit, get sworn in by a judge that the information is true. And then law enforcement will pick that person up and take them to the hospital where they'll have an evaluation done. If you believe that they're addicted to some different substances.
I think I'll ask the last question. My son is in Olympia, Washington, and he works for a homeless shelter there and spends a lot of nights on the street. And one of the things that he does also with another organization in the volunteer role is to be out on the street. And I know that he and all of their volunteers have Narcan with them and in their outreach. Is that something that you're seeing here in Ames as well, that other organizations beyond official government, police are having it available?
Yeah, absolutely. If you're coming into contact with anybody you suspect of, being under the influence of any type of drug, you should have Narcan on scene. Because if somebody takes something now, it may be 15, 20 minutes before the overdose occurs. So you just don't know when it's going to happen.
And how do you get it? And is it available for free or from a person?
I don't know what the
Pharmacy?
cost is, but usually at pharmacies, when you go into a pharmacy, you should be able to get it there to little to no cost. And there are grants out there for businesses that may need it as well, is how we get it for the sheriff's office.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yep.
One last question.
We're going long.
Getting my exercise.
Sorry.
What kind of plan can communities do to cut down on the demand? I mean, the countries who make the drugs get vilified, but they only do it in response to our demand for it.
Yep.
How can we cut down on that demand?
The simple answer is stop people from getting it, right? And that's our primary role. And that's why we're always looking to go after the bigger dealer. And that's what we try to do. Farther along in our slideshow, I talk about how it's coming into the country, again, made through China and Mexico, and then shipped across the border. And then they use the Postal Service, UPS, FedEx to send these pills wherever they need to go. So we work with the postal inspector to try to pick off those packages, do search warrants. But to answer that question, is to stop it from coming in through the border is going to be the best way to do it. It's not just the Mexico border. They bring them in on submarines and boats and fly them in on illegal airplanes. That's the way we need to stop it. And I know that the DEA and people are out there trying to do that, but the demand for it is just so high. We're doing the best we can in that aspect of it.
Unfortunately, I have to conclude this meeting. I would request, if you have the opportunity, Sergeant and Deputy, that if there's some individual questions. Also, if you might want to go ahead and send some in and we could send them to them and get them answered. Just a phenomenal program. Appreciate your time. Our motto, as I've shared, is service above self. You folks demonstrate that on a daily basis. And thank you for your commitment to our community and the safety of our people and our group. Well, with that, yeah, great idea. Thank you. Yeah. Oh, yes. Thank you, Karen. We also are major sponsors of Raising Readers. So we're going to have each of you autograph a book. If you have to use an alias, we understand. And this will be given to a 2-year-old at their well baby checkup in your honor. So thank you. That's for giving it to us. So we'll have you do that. If you will stand, please, we will conduct the 4-way test. of the things we think, say, or do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you.